I love shiny Pokemon. You probably know that if you watched my last Pokemon challenge video, where I played all the way through Pokemon Scarlet and Violet with only shiny Pokemon. This time, I wanted to challenge myself to see how many shiny Pokemon I could catch in a single hour. But, unlike the last video, the time limit is really the only rule. That means that the shiny charm, shining power sandwiches, breeding, and any other shiny hunting method are all on the table this time around. And make sure to watch till the end of the video, because I'm going to be giving away nearly all the Pokemon I catch in this video. For my first hunt, I saw a Scyther outbreak on the map, and went over there immediately. I've always wanted a shiny Scizor, so I figured this was my perfect opportunity to finally find one. There is only one small problem with this. Spotting a shiny Scyther is very hard because it's only a slightly darker color green than the regular one, and it has some red on its legs and neck, and that's it. And when you add that it's nighttime and all of them look like they're dark green, it really makes things confusing. It was nice that so many were spawning because of the outbreak, but at the same time I thought I was losing my mind, staring so closely at every single one of them to see if it was shiny. Time continued to pass, and eventually I was halfway through the hour already, and there was no shinies in sight. At least, I hope there wasn't. Let me know in the comments if I missed one. But I knew this Pokemon had an insanely cool shiny evolution, so I was not ready to give up yet. Once it was finally daytime again, I felt a lot better about my chances of actually spotting one, if one spawned. And eventually, with only 10 minutes left on the clock, this happened. No, I'm just kidding again. I didn't find a single shiny. But rather than let this kill my motivation, this actually made me more motivated, because it's always good to get your bad luck out of the way first when you're starting a challenge like this. For my next hour of shiny hunting, I decided to shake things up and go with the breeding approach. If you're a long-time Pokemon shiny hunter, I'm sure you know that if you breed a Ditto that's from a different country with one of your Pokemon, your chances of hatching a shiny from an egg are greatly increased. As soon as my egg power sandwich was made, I started the timer because I was beginning the hunt. And breeding is actually a lot faster in Scarlet and Violet compared to past games, with the addition of picnics. One of the exciting things about it is that you can now have your Ditto breed with an entire team of Pokemon rather than just one at a time. I love to do this because then you are always surprised at which shiny you actually get when you finally get one. And while I was waiting around picking up eggs, I found out that my Pokemon just have an internal hatred for me because they continually kick the soccer ball right at my face for no reason. After picking up eggs for about 30 minutes, I decided it was finally time to start hatching them. The Pokemon I was trying to breed for a shiny were Lucario, Eevee, Shroomish, Cacturne, and Froakie. These are all Pokemon I think have really cool shiny forms, and I don't have the shiny of any of them yet. And while hatching the eggs, I kept a close eye out as well for any Pokemon in the overworld that were shiny. It really didn't matter how I found the shinies, as long as I found them within the hour. I probably shouldn't have been hunting in an area with a bunch of Squawkabillies. Those come in a bunch of different colors normally, which makes spotting a shiny really confusing. But I figured with this multitasking approach, my chances of finding a shiny were really good. Somehow though, time just continued to pass, and I didn't end up having any luck with this method. But I knew things had to be turning around for me soon. So it was time to pull out the big guns, the Sparkling Power Level 3 Sandwich. These two combined bring the odds down to a pretty ridiculous 1 in 512 chance of finding a shiny. To make a level 3 Sparkling Power Sandwich, I just used this chart that I found on Google. It works perfectly for any type of Pokemon you want to target, and makes it so there's encounter power as well, so only those type of Pokemon will show up. I would shout out the creator of the chart, but honestly I have no idea who made this, so if you do, let me know in the comments. The Pokemon I was targeting here was Croagunk. Croagunk and Toxicroak both have a really cool light blue shiny form. But I kind of forgot that Gulpin and Swala also spawn here, so they were just going to be in with the mix, but I was okay with that because I think their shinies are pretty neat as well. And the hunt did not take long before we finally found our first shiny. That Swalot was definitely blue, and I was so excited because I've never found a shiny of these before. Not to mention the fact that I was only about 6 minutes into the hunt. That meant that this hour had some great potential. So with this great start, I threw a quick ball and caught the Swalot without any trouble at all. Now that I had found one, I was keeping my eyes absolutely peeled as I went past every single Pokemon, making sure they weren't a shiny. But my luck was just getting started, and not 10 minutes later, I found a shiny Gulpin. But when trying to encounter it, I ran into the wrong one and it started running away. I was super worried it was going to get away and despawn, so I ran away as fast as I could and just headed straight for it. You know, still not the Pokemon I came here to hunt, but dang, this guy is pretty. So I decided to go for the quick ball approach once again, and it worked. That meant 2 shinies so far already in the first 17 minutes of this hour. Since I had caught these first 2 so quickly, I figured it'd probably be a while before I got my next one. There did seem to be a lot of Crogunks and Toxicroaks on the top of this hill though, which was a good sign. I really wanted one of them now, and I usually didn't go all the way down this cliff when exploring, but for some reason I had a feeling that I should go check out this area as well. And oh my gosh, there was a shiny Toxicroak right here! My luck was absurd. It hadn't even been 2 minutes since the last shiny. I really love the light blue color along with the pink. It makes her feel like cotton candy flavor or something. I've never had a shiny of one of these before, despite being a big fan of it back in Diamond and Pearl. But of course, back when those games first came out, the shiny odds were quite rough. With that catch, I was feeling pumped. Now the only Pokemon I was missing a shiny of was Crogunk from this area. And it did not take long for this to happen. Another Toxicroak. I couldn't believe this luck, 4 shinies! This really did feel like the magic hour, and I was curious to see just how many I could catch within this small window of time. Unlike the last Toxicroak, this guy put up much less of a fight when I was trying to catch him. At this point, I was beyond satisfied with my results, but if I could find a shiny Crogunk, that would just be like the cherry on top. So I kept my eyes wide open, and I knew the effects of my Shining Power Sandwich were going to run out very soon. And then what do you know, another blue Gulpin. Compared to the previous 2 methods, it felt like this place was crawling with shinies. How could there be so many shiny Gulpins and Toxicroaks, but I still had not found a shiny Crogunk yet. But I mean, hey, I'm not complaining. I wasn't done with this grind yet, so I continued pressing onward. And my luck showed that it was not dead yet. Another shiny Gulpin! Can you believe that 32 minutes in, I had already found 6 shinies and half of them had been Gulpins? And I pulled the same mistake again and ran into the wrong one. And for a second the shiny disappeared, but soon it reappeared, so everything was cool. So I think you'll start to see now why I'm going to be giving away so many of these shinies to you guys. Because I caught a ton of the same ones. Make sure you subscribe and watch until the end of this video to find out how you can get your hands on some of these shinies. After that catch, my Shining Power Sandwich ran out, and I decided to go to a new spot to try to catch some more within this same hour. I still had about 25 minutes left, so I quickly made another Shining Power Sandwich, this time to go after some Houndoom. I had been having such good luck catching these blue shinies that I decided I should go for another blue shiny with the time I had left. So I headed back to one of the earliest areas in the game, the Inlet Grotto. And let me tell you, with a Fire Power Shining Sandwich, this place was crawling with Houndooms. So I looked, and I looked, and I looked, and I looked. But even with all the time I had left, I didn't end up finding a single shiny doggo. So by the end of this hour, I had not caught a Crogunk or a Houndoom, but I had caught 6 shinies in 1 hour, which was the new record. But of course, the Shining Power Sandwich method is just way too powerful, right? So I went back to normal outbreaks when I saw a Noivern outbreak on my map. This is another Pokemon with an insanely cool shiny form that I've never found before. So right away I got to work with my Charizard, knocking out a bunch of Noivern so that I could get to 60 and increase my odds of finding a shiny. The only annoying part about this hunt was that it was on such steep cliffs, which meant Miraidon had to keep switching between driving and climbing at inconvenient times. Plus I kept running into Noivern when I wasn't trying to and engaging in battles. But pretty soon I had knocked out 60, and I was ready to find a shiny. Shiny Noivern are kind of a minty green color, but finding one is a little bit confusing because the underside of the wings of normal Noivern are that same minty green color, so it's really easy to see a normal one and accidentally think that it's a shiny. This happened to me quite a few times actually. I had to do a few double takes. But after hunting and hunting and hunting, time was running out on this hour. I was wondering if this was going to end the same way the Scyther outbreak had, because I was down to 1 minute left on the clock and nothing to show for it yet. But I wasn't going to give up in the last little bit of time that I had, because I knew if I flew around this area, more and more would spawn. And when I finally jumped up and started to fly, I saw something. A shiny! I jumped up and was freaking out that I found this right at the very last second. I honestly can't believe that this happened. Even though this is only one shiny compared to 6 in the last hour, this felt way more lucky to me, because if it had come even 1 minute later, I would have left the spot and not found it. But with that absolutely crazy victory, I was on to Tag Tree Forest for my next hour. I've heard a lot of people call this place Lag Tree Thicket because of how terrible the frame rate is here, which is definitely true, but this area has a certain Pokemon I really wanted to find a shiny for, and that Pokemon is Passimian, these monkey looking Pokemon that hold coconuts. I believe they were introduced in Sun and Moon. I actually never played Sun and Moon, and I barely played Sword and Shield, so they're pretty new to me. But unlike most other Pokemon from those two games, they actually have a really cool design. I was using the Shining Power Sandwich again, and I hunted for about 26 minutes, with no luck, until this happened. It was hard to tell from the rain and the dark, but I had found a shiny! I think the orange and blue really makes this guy pop. And even though I was already 26 minutes into the hour, I was starting to wonder if I could somehow beat my previous record and catch more than 6 shinies in this hour. So I threw a quick ball, and just like that, I had caught the first Passimian of the hour. I was using a fighting Shining Power Sandwich for this, but Passimian wasn't the only fighting type in this area. There was also some Flamigos around, especially near the river. And suddenly, one spawned right in front of my face, and I went into a battle with it. This was pretty random and unexpected, but not as random and unexpected as what was about to happen. Off in the distance, I see a Flamigo that's like a pale white almost. And it was a shiny! I didn't even know what the shiny of this looked like, but by some miracle, I had found one. He put up a little bit of a fight when trying to catch him, but soon, I got him. Which meant the hour was halfway over, and I already had 2 shinies, which was not too bad. But I could not believe my eyes when only 2 minutes later, this happened. My luck right now was feeling insane. I was so glad that I was looking really closely, because this guy was partially hidden inside of a bush. But I soon found out that she did not want to be caught at all. She was putting up a fight against my Charizard, with pretty much all the shinies I had encountered up until this point. I had just caught them by throwing balls, and never had to do any damage to catch them. I feel like catching Pokemon in general is much easier in Scarlet and Violet than in the past games, but this Passimian was proving me wrong. Thankfully, Charizard's rocky helmet let me slowly chip away at damage, until she was caught. I knew the effects of my sandwich were about to run out very soon, so I was scrambling to see if I could find one more shiny before it did. My luck in this second half of the hour had been very good so far, so I was thinking there might still be a chance. Okay, this was crazy. Only 2 minutes later again, and I found another shiny! I found her right in the nick of time. And she was the 4th shiny this hour. I knew if I quickly made another Shining Power sandwich, there was a chance I could beat the record and get more than 6 shinies. But unlike before, I hadn't really planned out where I would go next once this sandwich ran out. So I was quickly thinking in my head of where I should go. The Pokemon that popped into my head were Drowsy and Hypno, who both look pink when they're shiny. I figured they'd be really easy to spot, so I decided to go to Alfornata and try to find some. I quickly made a sandwich with the 18 minutes I had left, and started looking. There was just one small problem with this plan. I forgot that basically all the Pokemon around Alfornata are Psychic type, which meant that the encounter power part of it was basically doing nothing for me. There was a bunch of different Pokemon around, and I didn't know what a lot of their shinies looked like. But I didn't have a lot of time left, so I was going to have to make it work. And 48 minutes in, I spotted something. There was a group of Metatites, and in the middle of them was a Metacham, but it was shiny! I would recognize this shiny anywhere. If you guys saw my last Pokemon video, I'm sure you remember Lucky Lucy, the shiny Metacham. Don't worry, her and the others are still doing great over on my other file. And now I had 5 shinies in this 1 hour. I just needed 1 more to tie, or 2 more to beat my previous record. So with 2 minutes left, I looked, and I looked, and I looked, and I looked, but I didn't find any more. That was okay though, because I decided I was going to do 1 final hour to try to beat the record. So this time I was going to a frosty place to find another one of my very favorite Pokemon. And theoretically, it should be one that was very easy to spot. I was going after the elusive pink Sneasel. And I say elusive because I've hunted for this shiny before. On 2 different occasions, I played co-op with some friends and tried to go for this Pokemon on a shiny hunt. With my first friend, he found one, but I didn't find any. And on my second hunt with a different friend, neither of us found a shiny Sneasel. So I had had a rough time with this one in the past, but with the crazy luck I had been having, I thought it was finally time to give this another go. And it turns out I was absolutely right on that assumption, because there was one staring me right in the face only 4 minutes in. This was crazy, my luck had not run out yet. Sinnoh has always been one of my favorite Pokemon regions, and I think Sneasel and Weavile both look so cool. But once again, I had encountered the Pokemon that was not the shiny. I went to go run after the pink one, but ended up sliding down this cliff. I feel like Pokemon spawning and despawning is so random in this game, so I was very worried he was going to be gone. But thankfully, he was still there. He was so cute, and I was not going to let him get away. He did put up a pretty good fight for a while though. I even tried using my 1 Dream Ball on him to match with his pink color, but he broke out of it. He really liked doing a bunch of Fury swipes, which was wasting a lot of my time, but I knew catching this guy would be absolutely worth it. But eventually, after quite a while, he finally decided to chill out and let me catch him. Catching one so early on was the perfect start to my run, and I was going to try my best to make this hour the best one yet and find more than 6 shinies. And it didn't take long before I could practically taste victory. 11 minutes in and I had found my 2nd shiny Sneasel. I knew it was a good idea to choose a shiny that would be so easy to spot for my final hour. After throwing a couple of quick balls, I realized I should just use repeat balls since I had already caught one. The only thing that stinks about hunting in this area is when the snowstorms pick up and it makes it much harder to see. But that was okay because I found another one! And of course I encountered the wrong Pokemon. I just can't believe that I hunted for this Pokemon twice before without any luck, and then within 15 minutes found 3 of them. But encountering it was turning out to be quite the challenge. I guess today was just a struggle. But my chances of finding more than 6 shinies in an hour was looking better and better. Even with all these stubborn Sneasels resisting capture. I definitely had come a long way since the beginning of this challenge. But the shiny charm and sandwiches do help a lot. Eventually though, the effects of my sandwich were running out, and it was time to jump to a new location to finish the rest of the hour. I decided to go after another shiny that I've always wanted, but that's always eluded me, and that Pokemon is Shroomish. Shroomish and Breloom are probably my favorite grass-type Pokemon of all time. I've tried a bunch of different methods to get a shiny in this game, but have never found one. But since my luck had turned around with the Sneasels, I figured it could with the Shroomish as well. But not long after arriving, something very unexpected happened. This was ridiculous. I hadn't even made the new sandwich yet, and I found a shiny Deerling. Deerling actually come in a bunch of different colors naturally, but you have to pay attention to the flower on their head. If the flower's pink, then it's a shiny. Luckily, I knew that. As quickly as I could, I whipped together a new Shining Power sandwich. But not long after making it, I realized there was an issue again. So many of the Pokemon in this area are grass type, I really should have done poison instead. But with only 20 minutes left on the clock, I was gonna have to roll with it. But 5 minutes later, something amazing happened. I finally found my shiny Shroomish! After putting hundreds of hours into this game and never finding this little guy, this was such an amazing moment. I could not have asked for a better shiny find on this run. And unlike most of the other Pokemon from this challenge, I'm going to be keeping this one. But time was running short now, and I still needed to find 2 more to beat my record. But it wasn't long before I noticed something very suspicious out of the corner of my eye. Did you see that? Let's watch that again. It looked like something was there before the Tropicus. So I threw a ball to start the battle, but then I saw a fungus run out from underneath the Tropicus. I quickly ran away to get a better look. And if you can actually believe it, it was shiny! How in the world did I spot this when a Tropicus spawned over top of it? I have no idea. But by some miracle, I found this guy and caught him. I now was tied with my previous record with 6 shiny Pokemon in 1 hour. And I didn't have much time left to find one more. So I was scrambling with the last few minutes I had left, searching everywhere for a shiny. And you're not gonna believe this, but I actually didn't find another one. The hour ran out, and I ended up with a tie at 6 Pokemon in 1 hour. But that's okay, because I had an absolute blast with this challenge, and I caught 19 shinies in all. Now 4 of those I really want to keep for myself, but all these shinies that you see here at this picnic, I'm going to be giving away to you guys as a special thanks for watching the video all the way to the end. You guys really are the best. Because of how many of you watched and liked my last Pokemon video, I was able to get this channel monetized. So this is my opportunity to give back to you. Over the next 2 weeks from the release of this video, I'm going to be giving away 17 shiny Pokemon. A couple of them, like this Gyarados, I actually caught before making this video, but I have 2 of them, so I'm giving them away as well. All you have to do to be entered in to win one of these guys is to like this video, be subscribed to the channel, and mention in a comment which of all these shinies was your favorite in this video. Just make sure that after you leave your comment, you check back over the next 2 weeks to see if I replied. I had a surprisingly difficult time giving away the shiny Psyduck Razzie last video because nobody would respond to my comments when I replied to them. So yeah, just make sure your notifications are on and that you like, subscribe, and mention what your favorite Pokemon was from this video in a comment. And you have a much more likely chance of winning this time around with 17 Pokemon in this giveaway. Alright guys, thank you so much. You're all the best. I'll see you guys on my next video.